Crypto Nation and mining family. What's going on out there? Woot up, woot up, woot up. All you happy hashers out there, what's going on this Thursday? I know. Not Friday. It's not Friday yet. I know. And I'm live. I know. I just decided I'd take this small little opportunity with a little blood in the market to kind of. Everybody wants to have this, I guess, like an opinionated variation of what they think is actually going on in the market. There is a bunch of things that have gone off since midnight tonight, and you guys haven't known, that is the tariffs. The tariffs, my friends, are affecting everything. Is this the financial Armageddon? Has it actually begun? Let's dig into this, right? But before we do all of that, guys, y'all know that I got myself one of those bid axes, right? Check this out. Solo mining. Yeah, this bad boy be solo mining. The chip itself is taking a whole grand 22.2 watts, sitting at 57.3 degrees Celsius, 57.5 degrees Celsius, give or take. Voltage regulator, which I have a fan coming. It'll be here tomorrow to be able to put a little bit of airflow onto the back side of the board, which will help with the voltage regulator temperature. Gives you awesome fan speeds and all that good stuff. And I'm like right up into the way on this one. Let's see here. So there we go. Take me out of that little picture viewpoint on here. So this is your whole thing right here, right? It's like very wild on how this actually looks out. So you got the little white lines down here, they're like little dots. Every time it's dot, it's like a tracking point on this, and that is your temperature. That it's been registering, and then the red is your hash rate, and it will vary, guys. Anytime that it submits a share, or it just gets to that one point where it refreshes itself, it should print a dot. But from what I've noticed, every time it prints a dot, that is it accepting, submitting a share. This device is wireless, so was kind of easy to actually set all this stuff up, guys. It's not very intimidating. Got a smartphone, and you should be able to set this up. You connect in with the Wi-Fi right into the unit. Input your router information in there right through the phone, and then you just load up into it, and you're able to log into the dashboard GUI through your web page that's from a computer that's on the same network. You can't be at somebody else's house and doing all of this, unfortunately. But this thing is pretty dang cool overall. I mean, the first thing you're gonna do when you get these things is you're gonna update them. So updating them, I'm gonna do a whole little breakdown on this, but I'm just wanting to show you guys, bam, it's been mining away. This is poolside. I'm on Node Runners, which is a free pool for solo mining only. I like that. And gives you a good amount of information, but I will definitely do a nice little in-depth dive on how to set all of this up for all of you awesome people. And if you guys would like to grab one of these Node Runners yourself, like I want a Node Runner, guys, use my link down below. I got it up over at cryptocloaks.com. Like I said, I have an affiliate link down there. Costs you nothing to use it. I get a little kickback from it, of course, but it's a Bitcoin miner. Of course I'm going to promote this, and I'm going to promote it from people that's in our own community. This is one of our 3D printing people in our community, so I like to support anybody that's in the Bitcoin community that's selling Bitcoin stuff. So awesome. Big old shout out to Crypto Cloaks. Very cool. If you guys didn't see that, he even personalized my little frame for me, which made it, I'm just saying, it made it the coolest bit axe out there on the planet. There is none of them that are like that. That one is mine. Okay? I'm just saying. That's the coolest bit axe ever. So let's move on to all the shenanigans that's been going off since midnight. First off, you guys know that I love this USDebtClock.org. I love this USDebtClock.org. Coolest stuff ever. I'm just saying, ever. So it is definitely slowing down. It's not like rapid firing $1 million, every 10, 20 minutes. That's a good thing. It is slowing down, but it hasn't stopped going up. So as much as Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing good, they are still not really getting to the root cause of all of our horrible spending here. Did you get any of that storm? Yeah, I got a little bit of that storm. It was nice and windy. We had a little bit of wind. We had some rains for a little bit, but it wasn't horrible. I mean, like, I think the worst part of it for us, I think we had maybe 20 minutes worth of torrential downpour, and then it was gone. So it was like it came in hard, and then left. I was like, all right, cool, we're all good here. And I know other places, like Michigan, got nailed with an ice storm. Other parts of the country just got decimated by high winds, and some places got tornadoes. Oh man, it was wild. It's that time of the year, guys. You get some changing in the weather where you go from hot couple of days to a cold front that comes through. This time of the year is notorious for having bad storms. I mean, I feel for everybody that had to deal with any kind of tornadoes, but this is that time of the year for them. April typically is the peak production of most tornadoes. I mean, you can have your tinfoil hats on and what's causing these epic storms, but at the same time, you also got to look at, okay, we have a little plausible deniability here going, look, we it's that time of the year. It seems like we're getting back into old school weather that we haven't seen in many, many years. I'm not minding it. I don't mind. Jason's like, it was so bad here, I had to shut my rigs down. That I've done that too. Oh my God, I have totally done, like, shut the whole farm down in the quickness. I was like, flash of light, power flickered. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and turn that all off. Preserve the equipment, please. Thank you. Totally get that one. I would do the same thing in your position. I'm just saying. I would totally do the same thing. But, it's like here we're looking at the national debt still going up. Local debts and tax revenues just don't add up to what how can I put this? For what the income that's coming into this country. We do not have enough taxable income to sustain the government at the size that it is. And that kind of tracks into some of today's topics, guys. I wanted that one. So here we have the S&P 500. That is taking almost a 5% turn to the downside. The NASDAQ 100, about 5.5% to the downside. Dow Jones Industrial Average is down almost 4%, guys. You might not think that, those are small numbers, but think about what happens when Bitcoin is, 5% down. It makes a huge move. You open up your portfolio for your, you open up your Bitcoin account and you're like, oh man, that's not as many zeros behind what I had before. I mean, I got the same amount of Bitcoin, but the price of that Bitcoin is a little bit cheaper. And some of that is when people have uncertainty in the fiat market, it does trickle down to everything else. Don't let anybody trick you into thinking that, oh, Bitcoin's not correlated. It is 100% correlated. All the same people that are playing in the stock market are in the crypto market. Let's be real at this point. So, but you know, this is like this. I use this as like my temperature gauge, right? How is the market doing? If I see Dow Jones Industrial Average, now this is your top industries, producers, manufacturing, right? This area is down almost 4%. It's like, yep. Everything is getting decimated right now. What up, DJ Mines? We got DJ Mines in the house. Yo, 22. Yo, what's up, my dude? Thank you for showing up, my man. Yo, I love it. So, you know, it's like a lot of people want to try to have guesses on what exactly is causing this. Well, all you have to do is look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average with manufacturing. We're seeing stuff being brought up in pricing, right? That's going to negatively impact all manufacturing here in the United States. I use this one as an example being in the car industry myself, right? Ford, American-made company. Henry Ford Sr. Everything was produced right here in America. Years later, we're producing their engine blocks in Canada, transmissions coming out of Mexico. Why are we not producing all that stuff here? We have the skilled labor right here. But I know why. Think about it. If I can send it to another country and their labor is cheaper than my labor, then I'm gonna go ahead and send that labor force over there. What does that do for America? It makes it harder for us to compete for jobs, right? That means there's less jobs for every American. Now, that starts to negatively affect you as a worker too, because how does that affect you? We don't have enough jobs. We got too many people here fighting for those same jobs. Now the employers can sit there and keep the wages suppressed. This one's been happening for decades. Absolute decades. This how this affects businesses, trying to kind of formulate my thoughts on this real fast. If I'm paying you less, that means you're going to buy less, which means that we have less velocity of money. Why do we want velocity of money? We need the movement of goods, services, and things. The only way that you can get goods, services, and things and move around is you got to have money. So, bringing it back to with the tariff side of things, what people don't understand. So, for right this second, right? It's going to hurt because everything is getting taxed. What is it getting taxed to? In an appropriate level on which, if it was manufactured here, it would be at the same price. This way, we're not encouraging these corporations to send their workforce into another country. If it makes no difference to open up shop in another country than it does to open up shop right here, then of course we should do business here. But riddle me this one too. I have friends in the skateboard industry. Skateboard industry got destroyed. Right? Did you know that? Skateboard industry is trash in the United States. Same thing with the snowboarding industry. Same thing with the surfboard industry. Why do you think there's no real money in those areas? Because all the money has been extracted out to other countries. And going back to what I was saying, riddle me this. Why is it that hardwood that's milled, that is cut down here, sent to Canada, sent to China, and China brings back a skateboard completely finished and still is cheaper than what we can produce here? Make that make sense. Riddle me that. How is it that we're going to ship something to Canada, they're going to turn it into a board, and then they're going to take that board and they're going to sit there and ship it out to China? And China comes back with a skateboard that's cheaper than what we can produce here. It has gone across 2 different continents, and it's cheaper than what we can produce here. There's a problem with that. That's what technically the tariffs are supposed to be really fixing, right? Okay, no longer will that skateboard be cheaper than what we can produce here. That skateboard you're importing in from another country should be more expensive than what we can produce here. Why? Because it's got to travel further. Why is it not? This is the beautiful thing that nobody wants to tell you. They're sending it over to areas where they get pennies on the dollar or slave labor. So they're underpaying employees to bring cheap goods here. I'm just saying, if we sit there and we discourage that somehow, and that's where tariffs are. And people are correct. Tariffs are a tax on the people. It absolutely is. That tax is making sure that those goods in another country are competitive price-wise with what's made here. Now, there's that inverse effect on this. Well, what about the goods and services, or the goods that are not produced here and have never been produced here? I sit there and I say, like a computer equipment. We have a foundry in Arizona. That's Microsoft's original foundry. Microsoft used to produce everything here too. Imagine that. We were at the forefront of all manufacturing, at all of it. And at that point in time, goods and services were able to be paid for by a single income family. Imagine having a mom and a dad with, let's say, a family of 3 and a dog, and only person in the house that has to work is the dad. Imagine that. That was what was robbed from us whenever they decided to export all the jobs overseas, because we still had the same population but less jobs. That in itself creates wage suppression. Now, if I've got too many jobs here and not enough people, now it becomes an employee-driven economy. That means I get to set my price because you want more. You need people like it's going out of style. Now we're talking about velocity of money. We're talking about people having economic prosperity. Once you have all of that economic prosperity going on, you won't need to sit there and worry about all this tariff tax, because we're producing it here for cheaper than what they can import it in at. We shouldn't be trying to compete with slave labor in any way, shape, or form. That is ludicrous. And it's been proven, like, we get all of our steel from China. Why? We produce steel here. We have a hustling and bustling steel manufacturing industry here. And what's interesting about the American steel versus Chinese steel, it's not that steel is somehow different kind of steel out in China. It is, but it isn't. Let me explain here. When it's American steel, what's different about that American steel is the amount of minerals that are captured within the steel. American steel has the lowest amount of minerals. Why does that make a difference? If you have less minerals, you have the less propagation of rust. What does that do? Makes your things last longer. Quality equipment. These are things that also rob economic wealth out of the people, because they're constantly having to throw away stuff because it's rotted out beyond all repair. So we need to sit there and try to encourage these. We can't force people to do anything, but we can certainly encourage them to do something. And if it's, like I said, if it's no different to set up shop in Indonesia for their slave labor, or go to Africa for their slave labor, and I put slave labor in a looser category than I guess maybe some people. Those are people who are destitute servants, all the way to people who basically are making $1 a day. You're paying them $1, $2 a day. No, that is taking advantage of of somebody who's providing a quality skill to you. You should be paying them a proper wage. Granted, I know, I get it in some areas, dude. If you made $10 a week, you were a baller, but you're still living in a dirt hut. If you're going to be working for somebody, you should be trying to elevate them, not just, oh, I give them this and at least they're not complaining. That, to me, that's taking advantage of them, and that's based technically slave labor, because like they're going to go, well, if you don't like it, quit. And they know that they can't. So that's the type of slave labor that we are trying to not compete with. Our American people should not be competing. I don't care what country you're from. This one shouldn't even be isolated to America for this one. No country should be competing with slavery or taking advantage of workers because of the fact that they're in an area where they can get away with it. This is what happens when you allow these companies to kind of run amok like this. And a lot of this, they're like, oh, these are loopholes. These are loopholes that were put in by Congress themselves. They're not loopholes when they were written in. Now, we can sit there and say, well, these loopholes, I'm going to sit there and tell these same politicians to pump the brakes on that bona fide loophole. It's like, you voted on this. It's not a loophole if you voted on it. And if you don't know what you're voting for, either you need to go back to single item bills, or you suck at your job and need to quit. Because you're just blindly voting for stuff and you don't even know what the hell you're voting for. You can be voting for as far as they know. They could be sitting there and voting that every American, their third child has to be sacrificed, and they won't even know it, because there's no way that they're sitting there in 24 hours reading a 3,000-page book in small fine print. Hell no. I've done a lot of reading in my past. I don't know people that can really thumb through a book that quickly by themselves. You can break it up into little chunks and maybe get through it. You ain't going through no 3,000 page bill and then say that you can confidently vote on what and know what you're voting for. No, you're blindly doing stuff. And the way that we have it all set up, these are not loopholes at this point. These corporations are playing by the rules. 100%. I will back them up on this one. They are absolutely playing by the rules. Now, we need to sit there and kind of put some guardrails up here going, okay, no. You can keep playing over there, but you're not competing anymore. Yeah, one-page bill limits. What up? We got John Germain with the Lemon Tree Gang. Yeah, I mean, this is the issue that we have going on, is that we have taken away since the 80s. A lot of people don't even realize it. We've been coming through the 70s. There were certain things that were put in place because they were having an economic crisis. I mean, a lot of you guys have not served, we're not even around, weren't even a thought back in the 70s. But the 70s had price fixing. Yeah, there was price fixing. Yep. There was a gas shortage. There was a whole bunch of stuff that went down with Nixon. That's why people put down what the fuck happened in 1971. Y'all better try to go down that rabbit hole, because a lot of the stuff kicked off right around then when they took us off the gold standard. They put us into a fiat tailspin into the ground, where the government was able to rob the system blind because there was no accountability to the fiat that they were printing. That's why the gold in Fort Knox right now, it is meaningless. That means nothing to me, because our dollars are no longer backed up by that. Nixon shut down the convertibility of U.S. debt into gold. Each dollar was supposed to be a promissory note. That stopped. The promissory note stuff stopped, I want to say, after World War II for the general public. The general public went from being promissory notes to Federal Reserve notes. Think about that. went to Federal Reserve notes. That was the very beginning of the death spiral. But then Nixon put the nail in the coffin by sitting there and stopping all other countries from being able to convert their U.S. bonds and debts into into gold. Because if too many dollars come back into our system's bankrupt. 100% bankrupt. And so coming through the 70s, they put some guardrails in, because some of this was that people were over leveraging themselves a little bit. And they put a little bit of a stop onto it in the 80s, and where they basically made it to where corporations could only have how can I put this? Like, an investment group could only be made up of 20 individuals. They had to be accredited investors, and they had to be made themselves all known before they can make an acquisition of any said company. George Bush Sr. changed that guardrail, made it to 50. To me, I don't really care the size of the entity as long as everybody knows the players of that entity and what's going on. To me, that's how it's supposed to be done. If I'm an investor, I expect I've got $1 million, and that $1 million is going to be going in to invest into said company. That was the purest standpoint of what was supposed to go on. But in reality, that's not what actually ended up happening over time. They made it to where they were able to make, what was it? Like, Bill Clinton came around, like right around 98, 99. He repealed the Glass-Steagall Act. This took off a lot of guardrails off of the corporation, off of the investment firms. See, everybody wants to blame the corporations. The corporations in this one is really the fall guy. He's like the corporation's like the canary in the coal mine. And I'll get to that one. Because like a lot of this stuff, it's like 71. That's why there's no more gold in Fort Knox. Well, there's some gold in there. It's just not all ours. And a lot of it's stolen gold. A lot of it is. But we're sitting in how can I put it? Like, we're getting into an area where we're looking at the corporations where when Bill Clinton, get back to my thought on there, took out the Glass-Steagall Act, it allowed for an unlimited amount of investors. Only a percentage of them, only the first 50 of them, had to be accredited investors. And he made the corporation an individual. That one was the biggest kicker. People don't realize. The moment that they made the corporation a person, it went from an entity to a person. It was on its own. What do you do when you basically look at a corporation as a person? I mean, we all know it's not a person, but for argument's sake, they treated it like it's a person. What does this do for that corporation? It allows them to pull a credit line. That's interesting. That is very, very interesting, because if I've got an entity and I'm buying something, I can use that something as collateral for the loan itself. So we can sit there and take, and that becomes its own little rabbit hole in itself, and not the root cause of what is going on right now. What we're seeing with the blood in the market right now, this is a direct cause of companies sitting there kind of scrambling, trying to figure out how they're going to get goods and services in at an affordable rate. And they know that they're going to have to sit there and start manufacturing here. Otherwise, they're just going to be trying to sit back and wait and see if the Democrats can undo anything that Trump has just done. I don't think that they're going to be able to really do this. But if they are able to, It's going to be because of the fact that people are like, I can't afford what I want to buy and I'm entitled to it. If that attitude kind of comes through, instead of people going, this band-aid is not going to work, we have a knife wound and we need to have a small amount of pain right now in order to fix what has been done over the last 50, 60 years. The government has been pillaging for 60, 70 years. This isn't even the corporations doing it. I mean, think about it. We have Nancy Pelosi, $30 million fucking of net worth. I'm sure that there's some pillaging going around and insider trading to weasel your way up that high. You're not going to tell me that 100% of these Congress members are all so smart that they're going to be worth millions on top of millions by the time they're done with their tenure in the government. The government produces more millionaires, and you gotta wonder why. These are going to be things that are setting the precedent of what's going on, and seeing these tariffs. This is just kind of, it's like the good, the bad, and the ugly, all wrapped up in one. And if they're in the process of this, and there's a reason why I've been bringing up some of the corporations and some of what's going on. So we have these corporations that have been bought and traded through multiple different entities, and they were once profitable companies that basically whenever they get purchased, they are taking out a loan on themselves to buy themselves. So they take a profitable company and they put a debt load onto it, because that entity did not purchase that business with any investor's money. The investors are able to sit there and just take a loan out secured by the very thing they are buying. So now we have assets under management. They restructure some stuff, and they go, oh, this is a manufacturing thing, and you've got sheets of metal here. We're just going to say it's a sheet metal company, right? Well, we're going to go ahead and this inventory that you're sitting on, we're going to go ahead and sell it off. And whenever you get a bigger job, you're not going to be able to just do it. You're going to have to order the materials first. So I'm going to extract your warehouse, and I'm gonna pay that out to myself in dividends, right? So I'm going to dividend it out to me and all my investors. So now that steel yard, they own that property, because that was the first thing that original owner did. He was like, you can't have a business unless you own the property. It makes no sense to rent out and try to run a business on there. You'll drive yourself into the ground. So, with that being stated, now that that entity sits there and sells the land off to another one of the things that a management firm that they own, and that property becomes asset under management, and they force the steel company to lease the land that they previously owned. Now that dividend goes back to me. See how this goes? So this is a long-winded story to sit there and to say what, like now you're talking about an entity that goes, I think I've extracted all the value I can. See if I can sell it now. Not really much left to this thing. I don't want to get burned by this this company that really it's not profitable anymore. You can look up at all the books, and that on the books, man, they're making like $7 to fucking $12 million a year. You're like, holy cow, this is a great buy. And then you got to look at all the debt load that it's got. It's leasing the land. It's already got a loan on there. There's still profit in there out of all of that. So the next guy purchases it, and they do the same thing. So now it's got a double debt load on there. Plus, it's leasing the land, has to buy all the materials on demand. It has no inventory. So here we are, looking at a company, and we end up working for one of them, right? Now they don't give out pay raises. They run everything on a skeleton crew because they have been just bled dry by 2 investment management companies that just came through and just clusterfucked them. Took a profitable company and just guts it for any kind of extracted value that they can get out of it, because they don't really, at the end of the day, that asset management company does not care. If you see your company get bought by an asset management company, expect to no longer see a pay raise, expect to be treated like shit, and if you've been there for too long, they're going to try to push you out the door because you cost too much to be there. And that becomes the next big thing. They start cutting all the senior people out of there that know how to run the company really well. They're the backbone of the company, but they cost too much. So the asset management company, get rid of them. We can put in and train new people. Do it. So they go ahead and they start getting rid of all these old timers. Now the quality drops. Now the customer service drops. Everything drops. People don't care anymore because there's no more loyalty. Now you got a company that's got a bunch of people that hate going to work. You got a bunch of people who are scared to death of looking sideways at upper management because that could be their job. Upper management's afraid of the asset management company because they might be coming into work tomorrow and not even having a job because they're not producing the numbers that they're supposed to be. Do you see how this little trickle-down effect goes? Now, this company has 2 different debt loads on there, 2 different mega loans that purchased the company. That company goes out of business. Who gets stuffed with that loan issue? You would think the asset management company, but you'd be wrong. I know, that one blows my mind. The asset management company assumes 0 responsibility. This is a problem for, ding ding, the company that failed. A profitable company that failed. That one's always awesome to try to explain to people. Well, why did it fail if it's so profitable? It's because management firms debt loaded it to the point where it broke under the weight of the debt load that was never there originally. That's what we're starting to see now. With this on top of it, with the tariffs coming in, it's going to cost companies a little bit more money to do business here. I wonder how many businesses can handle that and not pass on that cost onto the customer to the point where the customer slows down their purchasing time. They slow down what they're purchasing, then that company revenue starts sliding off to the point where they're negative on the balance books. Imagine making $4 or $5 million and you're negative on the balance books. You cannot survive like that. And if these companies start failing, it's going to be a domino effect if it happens, and that will blow up the market. Absolutely blow up the market. I'm not sure if that's what the end goal is for our government, is that they want to sit there and just tank the economy and rule over the ashes, because importing workers into this country with no jobs here in this country makes no sense. All you're doing is dropping the ability of people getting wages, which that's going to in turn cause more businesses to fail. So this is an interesting time. Now, I'm hoping that the end result of these tariffs is that companies start bringing back businesses, start encouraging the workforce here, because that would rebound our economy. That is, we've been in a slow spiral depression. I want to say for God, I'll just say that since about '98, we've been in a slow spiral depression. And why I say a slow spiral is that we have Alan Greenspan that kicked the housing market failure down the road for 10 years. So he kicked it down the road in '98. It hit 2008, crashed. They sat there and printed a bunch of money to bail out the banks because the companies weren't on the hook. It was the banks on the hook for making these loans. And they're still doing it. People don't realize that all these bad loans are still being done. They've just renamed them to different things. Our economy has figured out how to monetize debt. That's all we're doing is selling debt at this point because we don't produce anything else. So watching all the markets around right now sit there and yeah, so currently we have both. No, actually it's three. We have taxes, tariffs, and money printing. They're trying to slow down the money printing, but we still have taxes and tariffs. If what we see of what that's one thing I don't want to see, John, is more quantitative easing. What quantitative easing is that they make it cheaper to acquire debt. That is how we kicked the can down the road in 2008. We started doing quantitative easing in 2008. Here we are. Economy's crashing now. And you can't do quantitative easing forever. How did we get out of a market crash in 2008? I mean, not 2008, in the 80s, in the early 80s, with Ben Bernanke? What he did was that he put the interest rate in front of the inflation rate. So if my inflation rate, let's say, is 7%, we set target at 10% interest. We haven't done that. So the cost of doing business is still relatively cheap. It needs to go higher. Unfortunately, that's also going to negatively affect us because that means the borrowing rate for us goes up significantly higher. I mean, imagine, you're going to think twice if you have to sit there and, I'm going to buy this $250,000 home and I've got 13.5% interest. You want to add a $30,000-$40,000 worth of debt load onto your loan in the lifetime of that loan? Probably not. You might not even be able to afford the payment after that. So this is like one of those things that we're standing at a knife edge here, and a lot of people fell asleep at the wheel and didn't realize how bad it got. Without any manufacturing here, we have no cushion. I've been saying it for the longest time. We are the richest third world country out there. The richest third world country. We produce nothing. We have no value going out to the rest of the world other than we buy everything. And I think that's about to stop. If we can't get manufacturing to come back into the economy, into our economy, and get our industries back up and rolling, get Americans back to work. That's a lot of the issue. And people don't even realize this one. This one's actually statistically factual and has been proven through decades and centuries. Crime across the countries. All these countries all have higher crime. Look at the amount of prosperity in those areas. What kind of job opportunities do they have? Is it 8 jobs to one worker, or do I have 12 workers to one job? Because if it's 12 workers to one job, well then 11 criminals have to still eat. Because that's what you're going to turn them into. Because they're going to rob Peter to pay Paul. They are going to put food on their plate by any means necessary. Right, wrong, or indifference. Whenever you're looking at crime rates and jobs, are very correlated. The more jobs you have, the less crime you have. These are facts. Because you have more money coming in, you have more people not bothering to being on the streets, being a hooligan because they're like, I gotta get a job. I have a job. I'm gonna be able to put food on my table. Now there's still gonna be crime everywhere. You're not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna get jobs here and magic eraser, all the crime's gone. No. You're going to decrease the amount of just frivolous crime. You'll still have these people sell drugs, these people are gangbangers. You're still going to have that. But you're not going to have my car got broke in for the 10th time this year. Because you're not looking at a drug addict that's on the street and that many people. You'll see that as there's more opportunities, you'll also see less drug use, less overall crime, all that stuff statistically goes down. So as you get rid of economic opportunities, just expect it. Look at Detroit, where, basically every fourth house has been ransacked or burned down. Come on. That is a direct correlation right there. All the jobs left, people went broke. Bad things happened there. It became a horrible place to be. And it didn't matter what color your skin was. You had issues there. It got bad. Thankfully, I didn't have to live out there or live through that transitional period. But I've seen it in other areas. There's been auto manufacturers in my area that have shut down. Just in Wisconsin alone. You used to have Chrysler. That was a great factory job. They shut that down. And what happened? Kenosha County became very ghetto very quickly once that factory started shutting down. I tried getting a job out there, and I was told they're like, yeah, they're looking at figuring out what they're going to be doing. They've already winded down most of the factory. I'm like, oh my God. So, yeah. It wasn't that they needed to build better cars. There's like a whole bigger dive on the auto industry, with how much, how can I put this? There's a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't realize that happened with the auto industry. And if you and I know some old timers that are from the Detroit area, that were in management, and they gave me some insights that I myself wasn't aware of at that time. And like I said, the government has been encouraging the companies to find cheaper ways to produce. Okay, here we go. If I tax you as the company, you can only pass on that taxation to your customers to a certain point where your customers are going to stop buying whatever it is you're selling. Let's just put this into a blanket statement, input industry here. If I sit there and I go, well, you're making a lot of money in America, you owe us more money. Okay. So now I got to pay the tax man. Now that puts a debt load onto me for every dollar I produce. Every dollar of prosperity that I put into this country, I'm being taxed on that. Let's say I'm being taxed 38 cents per dollar that I make in prosperity. 38 cents per dollar. That doesn't sound a whole lot. Now you add that to $10 million. 38% of that is going to the tax man. So that comes your research and development. You're just paid your tax man. You wanted to give everybody a really good bonus because they hit their numbers this year, but I had to pay my tax man. I wanted to make sure that everybody got a pay raise, but I had to pay my tax man. Right? And my customer refuses to buy it off of me, whatever that product is, at the new price. So I've got to keep my prices exactly where they are, and I've now got to eat the fucking cost of whatever that product is. So now I'm going to look at other places of where can I source out my materials? Can I make my materials cheaper? Well, that's the first thing they did. That's where they went from American steel to Chinese steel. And that's when we started having cars that would rot out in 5 years. 5-year rust buckets, 6 year rust buckets, especially here in the salt belt. You live anywhere in the salt belt, you know that how bad Chinese steel is. You absolutely know this. So here it is. I'm now outsourcing my materials. I'm not buying anything American for my materials because that costs me too much, because those other materials from those other companies in America, they're getting hit with that 38% tax. And they're trying to charge me an extra 38%. And I've got to charge my customers an extra 38%. So now what? I'm supposed to charge my customers, 82, like 80% to cover my costs? Customers aren't going to sit there and stomach an 80% in prices. No way. Not happening. Will never happen. So now I've got to sit there and source that out of the country, all my materials, so I can keep that 38% from bleeding out. I've already got 38% tax pressure on me that I'm on the hook for no matter what, right? So now, over the years, they start taxing them more. Well, crap, man, I no longer can afford the people, so let me cut my workforce down. Oh crap, now I can't build quality stuff and build it in a high enough volume. So now I take that whole factory and I move it to where the labor's cheaper, and that labor is going to help out that country wherever that goes. It doesn't help us out, but we get cheaper stuff in the process. But now we have a whole bunch of people that are no longer working. This is the pillaging that's been it's the perfect freaking storm at this point. And as we progress even further, now we have these corporations these companies that are going, I'm at 42% taxes. This is not sustainable in any way, shape, or form. It's like I'm being taxed with the materials I'm bringing in. I'm getting taxed with doing business right here in this country. So let me go ahead and we'll pick on Raybestos Brakes. Raybestos Brakes used to produce locally to me. I used to be able to, if I wanted to, I can go get a job at Raybestos at one point in time, and they made brake shoes and brake calipers, brake shoes and clutches. That's what it was they had over there. They had brake shoes and clutches. I could be on an assembly line making brake shoes and clutches all day long. But over the years, they hired only Hispanic because they could pay them a little bit less. They were they're a hardworking group of people, and a lot of them being illegal, I could pay them under the table. I have a touch of slave labor right here. And when that got too expensive for even Raybestos to manufacture anything here in the United States, they took their entire factory and it's in Mexico now. I'd be curious to sit there and see if Raybestos Brakes comes back to America. That is an American company. Raybestos Brakes is behind GM brakes and clutches. That is the company that produces those. Yeah. Think about it. We just that's just an entire industry in my lifetime that moved out of this country. Brakes aren't made here in America anymore. Why? Because I could sit there and pay somebody in another country $20 a day versus paying somebody here at, let's say, $90 a day. Big difference. I just sit there and equate it. I'm getting taxed to bring that material, that product into the country. and I can still have it cheaper because I cut my labor costs down so dramatically. That is what we're facing here. And if we can get it to roll the other way, where it's no longer cheaper for these companies to do business the way they are, either it's going to push them out of business or it's going to force them to relocate again. And it's going to teach them a lesson that they shouldn't have moved out of the country to begin with, in search of this infinite cheap labor. It's like they got to remember, it's kind of like Ethereum, sitting there shitting on the people that made that Ethereum great, right? They shit on American workers that made this country what it is today. It is not the politicians, it's not the corporations. It's the blue-collar workers like me and you that made this country what it is today. And they've robbed that from us over the past 80 years. This isn't a short-term problem. Everybody's just getting pissed off. Oh, he could be doing it like this, blah, blah, blah. I got a friend of mine, he's like, well, he's tearing it down, but he's got no solution for it. And it's like, tear it down, we'll figure out the solution later. I voted for this to be torn down to stop, I wouldn't really say all of that, John. I would sit there and say that they are of standard. It's the standard which, like me and you, John, it's the standard on which we would expect, right? Now, being standard is now the best. To me, that's just standard. And everybody else, Toyota's having issues here and there. Nissan is a dumpster fire. An absolute fucking dumpster fire. Since 2010, that company got gutted. That company's reputation shit itself in 2010. Was it 2010, 2011? They had all those issues with the Nissans. And just to find out that the CEO was like embezzling or something like there was some like fraud that went on with it. And that company never fucking recovered in the slightest bit. All these companies, they're not all doing good. They're not all doing good. And to see that, a Honda, I got my wife a Honda, CRV. Why? It's a decent vehicle. It really is. I'm a GM technician. Honda CRV is decent. It's reliable. It at least they have lived up to a standard quality. Where I couldn't sit there and say, oh yeah, let's get a GM. No, they got fucking oil issues because they decided that they're going to produce 4 cylinders with turbos on there, and they're going to fucking make them in a cramped little box until seals on the turbo blow out and it consumes all the oil until it dies. Or you can have, the Chevy Traverse or something like that where you got the 3.5 or the 3.6 and it just eats the fucking timing chain on there and just destroys the motor. Nice. You got, you had, Toyota Tundra trucks had an issues with one of their motors. Ford's been having recall after recall here and there. I don't think that one company, from a mechanic standpoint, has really done what I would say a gold standard in any way, shape, or form. And oh yeah, like Intel and Boeing, exactly. Boeing, Intel, GE Capital, the whole GE line, the whole GE brand has been gutted since the 80s. That GE is a management asset company that hollowed itself out to be what it is today. Boeing thought it was an amazing idea. Hey, we're gonna cut company costs. How are we doing that? Fire half of the engineers. That was smart. And like we are just watching now the decisions of what politicians have done to corporations because corporations have been trying to figure out ways to create money. And then the government allowing asset management companies to fucking absolutely play. I'm going to pillage this company until it's nothing left, and there's no responsibility on my end except that the bank gets to eat it. How many companies get to go out of business before all these banks fail? And us Bitcoiners and stuff, we might be going, yeah, fuck you banks, get the hell out of here, we don't need you. Pump the fucking brakes, dude. Your mom and dad fucking have loans with the banks and their houses. What do you think will happen? This will be fucking Armageddon if our banks failed tomorrow. People don't realize it. The only way you're gonna fucking be able to protect your land is if you're armed to the hilt. And I don't think even a tenth of this country is ready for that. It's like GE Capital, where you used to get your car loan. Yeah. Yep. The whole GE fucking line, dude. Like look into it. These companies have been hollowed out for decades. Absolute decades. Like whenever you're playing in the stock market, make sure whatever you're investing in, guys, is not assets under management. If it's assets under management, you're about to get fucked. Stay out of any, and this is not I have to say this because of YouTube. This is not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. Consult your own financial person. But you need to sit there and make sure that the assets that you are investing in are not assets under management. That means that debt is being put onto that company and value being extracted. This is what Trump was kind of talking about, where the rest of the world is screwing us. They made it too expensive for us to export our own goods to their country because they produce our goods. Yeah, think about that. Absolutely think about that one. It's like, imagine watching another country going, yeah, we're doing a 200% tariff on this one product because we produce it here too. And then the moment we go, well, we're going to put in like a 25% tariff, even though you're charging us 200%, and they want to start up trade wars. Just remember, guys, first you have, how can I put it? You have soft war, and then you have hard wars. Soft wars are like disagreements, trade wars. Remember, soft wars turn into hard wars. So eventually, if we go into a massive trade war with everybody in the country, it's gonna kick off a war somewhere. We already have war in a couple of different countries, and as the economy starts to weaken, that also weakens negotiations between multiple countries. This has a very, very big impact, and that's why you can even look at the crypto markets, and the crypto markets have been absolutely getting fucking wrecked. You're not going to sit there and tell me that this is what you would consider a healthy market. I mean, this is Bitcoin right here, fellas. Bitcoin. And we are definitely sitting here and watching the market kind of come down. With it, this is not sustainable, guys. And as our dollar loses dominance and loses value, you will see people pull their money out of assets because they're going to try to put it into a safe haven. What are these safe havens? We would like to say Bitcoin, but we're like kind of biased with that, right? Where they're really looking at, and you can sit there and see it a little bit here. This is gold, but even gold is taking a little bit of a pullback, but it's doing better in volume wise. It's doing a little better than Bitcoin, but gold is about to roll over. With this market that's sitting the way that it is, gold is going to roll over. It's going to have a what they call a death cross, where your 200-day moving average crosses over to the downside, and we're going to see that, we'll be able to buy some cheaper gold again. How far this is going to come back, we have no clue. We are sitting in unknown territory at this point. Absolutely unknown territory. So things are going to be pretty interesting. I would say the next few months, like I wouldn't sit there and say Trump's tariffs are bad. We're at that point of we see the event horizon. We see a couple of different ways that this can play out. Now we have to kind of sit back and see exactly what's happening, what's going to happen. We know that, in the government, they're having a civil war in the government right now over everything that's going on. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. The government itself is having a meltdown civil war. Democrats are unified, Republicans are not. And it is absolute turmoil and chaos. We have basically 6 defectors on the Republican side that have crossed over onto the Democrat side, and have now asked for special permissions of stuff, voting at a politician votes from home now. That's fucking constitutionally illegal. But, they don't give a shit about that over there. I guarantee you that Republican is now going to vote for something that the Democrats want. That was the Democrats securing a Republican vote. So we have defectors. We have Republicans that need to get primaried out. They are not Republicans. They are GOP rhinos, and they are not standing with the will of the people. That'd be a problem. So, I mean, with our government having the civil war internally that it's having, that makes us really weak in the grand stage of the world economy. A weak government makes for a weak economy, and hoping that we can sit there and get the economy rolling the right way will make things a lot better for us. So hopefully, we can get things going in the right direction now. No guarantees. Like I said, all we can do is sit back and kind of see what direction all these corporations are. We see that there are some corporations that are saying that they are going to be reinvesting back into America, bringing back industries back here, which is amazing. I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully this gets done the way that we all hope that it's intended to be done. Certainly, guys, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. You made it this far. This is for the people who aren't here either. They're watching the replay on this. Certainly drop your comments and what your thoughts are. What are your guys' thoughts on what's going on? Do you think that the direction that we are going, can this be considered a positive direction, a short-term pain for a long-term gain? Or is this going to be, financial Armageddon? Like the Democrats are making it out to be that our economy is now ruined from all of this? Or do you just think that, this was long overdue and somebody had to do it? That's the camp that I'm in. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this. Guys, definitely smash that Lizzie like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe if you're new here. Hit the bell notification. All that good stuff. It's like U.S. needs to balance the budget, repay the debt. And in the process, we need to get other countries to repay their debts with us too. We'll start with Ukraine. It's like, Zelensky, we'd like our money back, please. So, I mean, like this has kind of been what I've been looking at over the last few weeks. Just kind of, I like, you can see it bubbling up. You can see that the markets were kind of stagnating out because a lot of people knew It wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when all of this was going to kickstart. Now, we can see how the chips are going to lie. You know, it's like, I expect some things to go up. You know, if they want to sit there and be like, oh, but my avocado, my guacamole, guac, I don't want to pay more for guac. Guys, a 25% tariff tax on guacamole, you're going to complain over 10, 13 cents at this point. It's that is the least of your issues. Let's get some good jobs back into this country, get America working again. Make America a manufacturing powerhouse that we once were. I don't know if we'll ever be able to get back to our former glory, but one could hope. So, it's like, Sadie, I don't know a solution. I know almost every aspect of the economy has been unstable for some time, just watching what's happening. Yep. And all I can sit there and say is, be prepared. I would rather have a bunch of gold, a bunch of silver, and never need it. I would rather grow my garden and have my chickens than worry about how I'm going to eat tomorrow. With my chickens, I don't care what the fucking price of anything is. I will be able to have at least 2 eggs a day. Minimum. I will be able to consume 2 eggs a day. My wife will be able to consume 2 eggs a day, and her kid will be able to consume 2 eggs a day. To me, that sounds like amazing rations that I'm producing right here on property. Now, I hope that it never comes down to it, that I can't go to the store and buy my what I need to buy at the store. But you know what? I can make my own soap. I can make my, it's like I can produce my own stuff right here on property. And you don't need much to do it. So, that's why I started up the RN Homesteading channel, to show people that, you should be preparing for worst case scenario. Hey, I can't afford to go to the grocery store today. I still need to eat. So if you could sit there and grow some of your own stuff, that helps you prepare. That also helps you stack sats and hodl. Yo, I'm just saying. I mean, my thought patterns, like, they kind of like roll back into being self-preserved. Oh, I'm going to save money here. Well, where can I put that money? Well, I know I can't put it in the bank and trust it. Banks are making bad loans, and if they implode, my money's gone. Put it in a Bitcoin, right? Put it in gold or silver. Pick one. I mean, I know all of us here that are watching here mostly, we're going to pick Bitcoin. But I'll tell you what, full transparency, I've got gold and silver too. I am not shy to sit there and say, you know what happens if, worst case scenario, right? Gotta think about this stuff. The internet goes down. Yeah, you might as well say that we just got put back in, we will, if the internet shut down tomorrow, we would be back in the Stone Age. So, gold, silver, and bullets with chicken eggs will be some of the best currency that we can have around here. I'm just saying. What up, Big Rome? He's like, I am late. It's like, definitely a long time coming. We need to straighten out some of this out. 100%. 100%. It's like, yeah, let's protect the fish, frogs, and trees for sure. 100%. It's like crooks everywhere. All imposters pretending to be you. Getting you to invest in shitcoins. 100%. 100%. So, don't be sitting there blindly trusting people. Don't trust, always verify. That's what one thing crypto has absolutely taught me. Don't trust, verify. If I can't verify what you're doing, I can't trust that you're doing it right. That's an uninformed person. And if I'm uninformed, how can I give you consent? There's always something new and flashy to buy, John. Always. You're going to turn around. Oh, look at this. I could buy this. Oh, look at this. Oh, I need that in my life. I haven't had it before, but I need it now. Heck yeah, the Bit Axe Gamma is absolutely nice. 100%. 100%, dude. I like my Bit Axe. It's my solo mining lottery ticket. Oh, you can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. It's a lotto ticket. So does anybody else got any other comments or questions before I get up out of here? Because now is the time to ask about that stuff. It's like, I like that Ice Tower fan for the Bit Axe. Man, I was looking at the water cooling system for it too. That looks pretty pimp. But tomorrow I'm gonna do a bigger video on the Bit Axe. I'm gonna show people how to set it up. I'm gonna show how to do the fan upgrade on this. So got a good one coming up for you guys. Be fun. Awesome stuff. So with that being said, thank you everybody for being here. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. M3 screws, yes sir, yes sir. So thank everybody for being here, all that good stuff. And with that being said, peace out. Stay savage. May your watts be low and your hash be high. I'll see you on the next one. And if you want a Bit Axe, I have an affiliate link down below. Use it, please. And get yourself an awesome Bit Axe. Yo. And thank you everybody for being here. Y'all rock. I'll see you on the next one.